Parihara ಮತ್ತು ಶಾಂತಿ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ. This session will be live streamed on Bookdama, edina.com and Facebook and YouTube channels of Gandhi Bhavan. The first speaker is Shri Ban Ki-moon. This will be a pre-recorded video. Shri Ban Ki-moon is a South Korean diplomat who served as the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations from 2007 to 2016, known for his efforts to address global challenges like climate change, sustainable development, and gender equality. He played a key role in the adoption of the Paris Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals. Ban Ki-moon has also been involved in peacekeeping and conflict resolution efforts worldwide. And after his tenure, he continues to advocate for global peace, human rights, and environmental sustainability. ಮೊದಲನೇ ವಿಚಾರ ಮಂಡನೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಬನ್ ಕಿ-ಮೂನ್ ರವರು. ಇವರು 2007ರಿಂದ 2016ವರೆಗೆ ಯುನೈಟೆಡ್ ನೇಷನ್ಸ್ನ 8ನೇ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದರು. ಪರಿಸರ ಸುಸ್ಥಿರಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮಾನವ ಹಕ್ಕುಗಳ ವೃದ್ಧಿಗಾಗಿ ಇವರು ಮಹತ್ವಪೂರ್ಣ ಪಾತ್ರ ವಹಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪ್ಲೀಸ್
I regard myself as a soldier, though a soldier of peace. I know the value of discipline and truth.
Honorable Siddharamaiah, Chief Minister of Karnataka, Mr. Ramchandra Rahi, President of the Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, Dr. Uday Krishna, President of the Karnataka Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste to all of you. It is my great pleasure to attend this exciting seminar, albeit virtually. To my prior commitments, I am sadly not able to join you in Bengaluru, a beautiful garden city, which has also become a world-renowned tech city. However, Invitation to deliver this speech because of my long-standing love for India, as well as my lifelong respect for Mahatma Gandhi. At the outset, I extend my warmest congratulations to the Gandhi Smarak Nidhi on its landmark 75th anniversary of dedicated service. Before I get to the substance of my remarks today, I'd like to first tell you a bit about the relations between Mahatma Gandhi and myself. I started my work as the 8th UN Secretary General on January 1st, 2007. And 5 months later, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution to observe the birthday of Mahatma Gandhi, which falls on October 2nd as the International Day of Non-Violence. This important resolution called upon the global community to commemorate this day annually in order to, I quote, disseminate the message of non-violence, including through education and public awareness, unquote. Gandhi's philosophy, vision, and strategy of non-violence profoundly influenced not only me, but many global leaders too, including Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, in the modern history of the world, Gandhi remains the greatest teacher and practitioner of non-violence. He demonstrated the efficacy of this philosophy through his resolute leadership of India's hard-won struggle for independence from British colonial rule. In addition, his leadership inspired and still inspires countless of movements for change all across the world. Like so many people around the world, I have long admired and respected Mahatma Gandhi. I first visited Rajghat in 1972 when I was assigned to New Delhi as a young Korean diplomat. And in 2015, I visited Sabarmati Ashram in Gujarat as Secretary General of the United Nations. I was greatly moved and inspired by the ashram, by its ascetic simplicity and progressive purity. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I was informed that the theme of this seminar is Mahatma Gandhi for the 21st century. The theme precipitates me to ask myself, as I am sure that it will cause all of you to ask yourselves, what are the major challenges and problems that we, humanity, are currently facing in the 21st century? And what are the main lessons we can learn from the past and the main opportunities in the present, which can help us overcome those aforementioned challenges so we can succeed in creating a brighter world for our future generations. In this respect, I'd like to share my reflections with you on 3 key challenges in the 21st century. The first, let me begin with the most pressing challenge, namely the climate crisis. Cascading climate change is a defining threat of our time. Indeed, if the world fails to reach the targets and timelines of the historic Paris Climate Change Agreement, the consequences will be simply devastating for the health and well-being of all of humanity, as well as our single planet. Climate change is also a threat multiplier that can disrupt ecosystems and economies alike, causing a crisis of environmental displacement on an uncontrollable scale. It can also trigger tensions related to food, water, resources, and more, both within and between countries. Governments, civil society, organizations, and businesses around the world have recognized the inherent dangers of climate change and the great urgency of coming together in cooperation and partnership to holistically address it. When India deposited its instrument of ratification to the Paris Climate Change Agreement with the United Nations on the auspicious day of 2nd October 2016, I said then, quote, "What better way to commemorate Mahatma Gandhi and his legacy for people and planet," unquote. In this context, I call on the Indian government to demonstrate its elevated climate leadership by making further efforts to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. The second challenge I'd like to highlight today is closely interlinked to the imperative of protecting the planet and its people through the achievement of the entire set of tasks of sustainable development. During my time as UN Secretary General, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the historic Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, in 2015. SDGs guide us as we strive to end hunger, empower women, reduce wealth disparities within and between nations, increase access to education, and build effective institutions that serve the people. These goals apply to all countries. After all, even the richest have not fully achieved all the goals for all of their citizens. However, it is a matter of deep concern that the world is still far away from meeting the fast approaching deadline of 2030 to achieve the SDGs. Today, some 1 billion people still live in extreme poverty in different parts of the world, and more than 800 million people endure hunger and malnutrition. There were countries in Asia that not long ago were struggling with poverty and hunger. Today, these countries have made remarkable progress in lifting countless people out of abject poverty. India has also made considerable progress. I take this opportunity to commend India for its notable efforts. One task in this regard will become easier if we are guided by Gandhi's wise mantra, quote, "Earth provides enough to satisfy everyone's needs, but not everyone's greed," unquote. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I now come to the third challenge. The 21st century has witnessed unprecedented progress in scientific and technological knowledge that promotes material prosperity, which is an indispensable human need. Yet, I often wonder, with sadness and anxiety, why we have become poorer in spiritual knowledge, which is a requisite for peace, harmony, and happiness in our neighborhoods, communities, countries, and the world. Indeed, there is a great strength in diversity, and countries that celebrate diversity, defend democracy, ensure freedom of faith, and embrace every individual are the ones that can guide the construction of a better future for all. I am of the view that this is perhaps the most fundamental lesson that we all should learn from the exemplary life of Mahatma Gandhi. I firmly believe that everyone has a moral responsibility to act wherever they may be, and everyone has a part to play in addressing the biggest challenges we are facing now and fostering the creation of a brighter world. Let us expand our collective efforts to advance peace, sustainability, prosperity, and dignity for all. I reiterate my congratulations on the occasion of this timely seminar and wish you all a great success. Thank you, Dhanyawad.
Our next speaker for this session is Dr. D. John Chelladurai. So I request you to please come on stage. Dr. Commitment to peace studies, holding a NEMPhil and PhD in peace research. With extensive experience in conflict resolution, non-violence and peace building, Dr. Chelladurai has held various leadership positions, including Director of the India Peace Center, Nagpur, and Senior Fellow at the Gandhi Research Foundation. He has organized numerous workshops and international training programs on conflict management and peace education, and has authored several books and papers on these subjects. A proponent of Gandhian philosophy, his work spans topics such as Dalit liberation, sustainable rural transformation, and equitable economic justice. His personal and professional endeavors reflect a lifelong dedication to promoting peace and social justice. Dr. D. Chelladurai, ಔರಂಗಾಬಾದ್ನ MGM ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನಗಳ ವಿಭಾಗದ ಡೀನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥರಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಗಾಂಧಿ ತತ್ವಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಬೆಂಬಲಕಾರರಾಗಿದ್ದು, ಸಂಘರ್ಷ ಪರಿಹಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಶಾಂತಿ ಸಂರಚನೆ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಹತ್ವಪೂರ್ಣ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಶಾಂತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ನ್ಯಾಯವನ್ನು ಉತ್ತೇಜಿಸಲು ತಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನವನ್ನು ಸಮರ್ಪಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. Please welcome Dr. Chelladurai.
At the outset, I thank the organizers for bringing a galaxy of scholars and intellectuals who have dedicated their life for the cause of truth and non-violence to this occasion, and made the 75th anniversary a memorable occasion of contemplation and reflection. There are a lot of people who were seniors to me here, from whom I learned, and if I start taking their name, it would be a long, time-consuming effort. I greet one and all, and I would like to share on this occasion few experiences and learnings that I have had from Gandhian thought. when India was under the British rule, we had a conflict. We all know colonialism suppressed us, and Gandhi, who after completing his study in law, entered into the arena, and he thought this problem is not individual problem, it is not a communal problem, it is the problem of humanity, and started addressing it. His attempt, which resolved the conflict successfully eventually, was based on a profound methodology, a very unique methodology called Satyagraha. If we want to solve our problem inclusively in a sustainable way, the resolution methodology should learn from Satyagraha. It has to be Satyagraha. Satyagraha, as you understand, is a methodology of resolving challenges that emerge in relationship, is considered to be a superior methodology, and the world adopted it. The great examples of the civil rights movement led by Martin Luther King and the campaign against apartheid by Nelson Mandela are evidences to the success or the superiority of this methodology. Friends, 21st century we thought would be an era of so refined civilian relationship, but unfortunately this century started with a massive attack on fundamental rights, human rights, or the sovereignty of nations. You know, Twin Tower. That was the stark reality that revealed to us that while we came into 21st century, our mind, our perspectives have not matured enough to be in 21st century. Satyagraha is all the more important today. All the more important. The journey of civilization is a kind of undulating journey. Ups and downs keep coming. And today, across the world, we see this undulation taking us into a alarming low, right-wing sway, whether it is in the most developed country like US or most promising country like India, the propensity is one towards right-wing. And on this occasion, if right-minded people do not rise, we will be blamed for the further fall. And on this count, Satyagraha is even more important for all of us. When we talk about Satyagraha, I would like to bring few insights that Gandhi gave to your notice. The first of all, Satyagraha is not a weapon of the weak. It is the weapon of the mighty. It is not said this way to encourage people. The innate potential, if you understand, then you will realize, yes, truly it is a weapon of the strong. You ask yourself, if you have a challenge, would you like to address it physically by hitting each other on the street, or try to address it intellectually? You would certainly come to the understanding it is better, it is more superior for us to address it intellectually. We can, with reason, logic, profound understanding of the situation and detailed informations, we would like to encounter the opponent with intelligence and either convince or win. We always believe that is superior. If that is true, then Satyagraha is that. And not only that, there is a moral position you take when you adopt Satyagraha, which make your rational approach even more strong and invincible. That is what Gandhi was doing. When the whole world thought fighting against each other, even for right, is a fundamental duty, and in that way, people justified physical attack. If somebody is suppressing us, I have the right to defend my life, I have the right to take weapon and fight. Gandhi said, that is a very primitive methodology. That is a primitive methodology. There is a superior methodology. The methodology superior is that with whom are you fighting? That is the question he asked. With whom are you fighting? In the new emerging context, there is no other person. There is no enemy. You must see the context in which Satyagraha emerged. In South Africa, when Gandhi went, there were Indians who went almost 30-35 years before him in large number, about 100,000 people. There were Malays, there were Dutch people, there were Britishers, there were native people. It was a nation with multicultural, multi-racial setting. First time it was evident for Gandhi that in this multiple diverse demography, which are not different nations, within one nation, within one boundary, fighting against people who suppress with weapon would be suicidal. With others you can. At least you can justify. With the people who are on the other side of the boundary, you can for a while justify. But the opponent, the other, is no more on the other side. They are on your side. So he said, there is no other. Our fight is within. It is not without. It is not with others. It is within. If you are going to fight within, then you cannot take weapon. You cannot take weapon. This is something very, very fundamental. We need to take it. In the national context, we have sworn again and again, all through our school days, all through our college days, that this is our nation family, all our brothers and sisters. Having said it, having sworn to be brothers and sisters, if we think that the other person, because the other person is wrong, is worthy of my anger, worthy of my hatred, then we are falling into primitive methodology. Primitive methodology. We cannot do that. Friends, Satyagraha is not just a fight against the wrong. It is not just a fight against the enemy. It is an attempt to build relationship. We need to understand it. It is a very superior methodology of constructing a new society. It is not, Gandhi reiterated that point. It is not just a weapon of the victims. It is not a weapon of the victims. Of course, the victims are taking up the weapon, but not as a victim, but as a constructor of the society. So, when you want to solve a problem in the society, even if you are a victim, you have to take a dual role. You have to fight for your right by reconstructing or recreating a new narration in which we are all equal, we all stand on equal platform. That is something that he was reiterating. So when he was attacked, or Satyagrahis were attacked, Gandhi said, let us not retaliate, because retaliation will divert the focus. If I fight for my rights and the opponent is hitting me, and if in order to protect me, if I hit back, my hitting will become a primary issue. Why I hit will be sidelined. There is a profound realization in that. At home we learn it. Gandhi always quoted family as a reference for our Satyagraha in the national level. What would you do at home if your child rebels against you? When mothers feed the children with having plate in the hand, children run away, run here and there. They rebel. But mothers know how to handle it. There, she may employ force, but never violence against the child. Because the child not only need to be fed, The child has to be educated that there is something called sustenance and she has to cooperate and accept it. So there is a learning process while the struggle is going on. Britishers were taught through Satyagraha that when the victims respond to your injustice, you please listen. If Britishers' atrocity were responded with violence, the violence would have been made an issue and we would have been suppressed. When we did not retaliate, how long will they hit? They had to listen. There is a strategic gradation in the response to violence. The id response, the ego response, and the superego response. Britishers indulged in id and ego response. When we raised a moral issue that we are all equal, we have the right to freedom, it is a moral claim, Britishers could not buy it. Not that they did not understand. If they understood and if they accepted it, they have to vacate. There is a large economic stake. They did not want to vacate. So they pretended not to understand, pretended that we were wrong, and they, in order to divert us, hit us below belt. They brought guns, clubs, they brought jail. Gandhi said, let us accept it. We will go to jail happily. Because by doing it, we are not responding to their strategy of diversion. We would take the blow and not respond and still continue to say that you are wrong because we all have the right to freedom. That is something enshrined even in your constitution, in the British constitution. And eventually they had to listen because after all, we are ethical people as well. There is a premise Gandhi gave, human beings are essentially good, essentially good. Why do we say essentially good? How can we say even heinous people are essentially good? Gandhi's response was very profound. We are essentially good, we are essentially non-violence because we are still surviving. If we were essentially bad, if the sum of violence is more than the sum of non-violence, we would have got extinct long before. So we are essentially good. Susceptible to wrong. To err is human being. We make mistakes. Out of our fallibility, limited understanding, we make mistakes. And amenable to truth. If somebody is making mistake, and if we inform them truthfully, they will listen, they will understand. The Britishers understood. And eventually we got independence. There are many people claim that Indian independence was not to be credited to Gandhi's non-violence. There were a lot of people who made valiant attempt in the fight for freedom, but we have to tell that Gandhi had a holistic strategy of reconstructing the nation through the process of Satyagraha. That actually brings lot of the other folds, the manifest form of Satyagraha. Satyagraha in the literal sense, Satya Agraha, insistence on truth, has to be understood as Gandhi understood. This truth is not just telling facts, it is not just adhering to what is righteousness. It is, in the sum, Gandhi said, my truth is the largest existence and life is the closest manifestation of the largest existence. So, for Gandhi, truth and life are convertible terms. So, when he said Satyagraha, he meant insistence on life. Insistence on life. And that life is not individual life. Today, as human beings, we have adopted a social life. In fact, our social life is a global life. every individual's every moment is determined by global cooperation. You see the kind of communication we make. There are million people behind this communication system that make my voice reach you or connect. We both connect each other. Every moment is determined by a global cooperation. So when we talk about life, it is the life of humanity, the life on the ecosystem. That is what he meant. So when we insist on life, it starts with individual. When I am done injustice, I have to resist, because to live is not only my right, it is my duty as well. On the other side, in the analysis of life, Gandhi says, nature has given this life to us and made us the custodian of life. We are trustees to this life. So we have a duty to protect this life, and to that extent we have to fight. But then the social being that I am, my life is determined by the collective endeavor of this world. I am going to fight for my right with the macrocosm. I have to deem myself as a microcosm of this macrocosm, as a miniature of this society. I am not a part of the society. The new realization is that I am not just a part of the society, I am a miniature of this society, a microcosm of this society. I mean, there are a lot of social fabric analysis we can do to make us understand in the non-dualistic sense, in the Advaitic sense, that I and my society are not two different entities. It is not me I am telling, it is Gandhi who said, the Advaitic truth, I am part of the truth. Truth is an all-encompassing reality. In the concrete sense, we can say, I and my society are not two different entities. The farmer who cultivated the food which I ate and speak before me, using that energy, is my extended hand. I cannot deny that. If that hand is hurt, if the hand is weak, I cannot say that I am strong. I cannot say. So with that non-dualistic realization, Gandhi says, you are fighting for your right with your own extended self. Then I cannot use violence. In the non-violence parlance, if we engage in violence to solve the problem, it is suicidal. It is suicidal. Because I am hurting my own extended body. I cannot do that. In the constitutional sense, we cannot do that. It is, if we perceive somebody as my enemy because the person speaks ill about me or against my interest, and I deem that person as enemy, that is my myopic understanding. Because that person may not have the perspective of a nation I am expected to have. We are expected to have as educated people. In which Gandhi gave a lot of insights. At least couple of insights I would like to share before I conclude. One is, friends, he gave a very superior strategy of analyzing conflict, and one of the factors of analyzing conflict is the parties to conflict. He gave a distinguishing factor. My fight is with the wrong, not with the wrongdoer. The wrongdoer is my brother and sister, is my extended body. If that is true, then we cannot say that I will not be with the opponent. I will not stand with the wrong person. I will not stand with the wrong. But I will have to stand with the wrong person. If I disown the person, I deny myself the right to negotiate with the person. I cannot disown the person. I have to be with the person. My brother does not want to stay with me, but I want. Friends, if only we think on that line, we can create a new nation. Otherwise, we cannot. We can fight. We have the right to fight. Gandhi said it. If you don't believe in non-violence, if you don't have the strength of non-violence, Nevertheless, you fight for your justice. Cowardice is heinous. It is worse than violence. But non-violence is the weapon of the superior people. We are supposed to be enlightened. We are supposed to be well informed on the peak of the civilization. As of now, we are expected to adopt a superior methodology. So the wrong and wrongdoer are not one and the same. My fight is with the wrong, not with the wrongdoer. The wrongdoer is my brother and sister. And this satyagraha is an attempt to bring my estranged brother or sister to sense. It is not only ensuring justice to me, it is ensuring an enlightenment to the opponent. That is what satyagraha is. So any struggle has to be educative, not only to our people, but to the opponent also. If the opponent has to learn from us, then our language has to be one of love, caring, inclusivity. It cannot be hatred, it cannot be enmity that drives our language. It cannot be. It is very important. Today, if satyagrahis are failing or the non-violent campaigners are failing because we allowed our mind to be corrupted with hatred and anger or exclusivity, to put it mildly. It is very unfortunate. The people on the other side may appear to be very strong, may appear to be very huge, both in number and size and power, but their understanding is weak, their understanding is small. Then we have to deal with them as if we deal with them as a child, with care and concern. It is important. If we think we are weak, if we think we are small, then satyagraha will not be a weapon, cannot be a weapon effectively. Then that will be a kind of passive resistance. Second, another point, that is the last point I would like to bring, that is satyagraha is a dharma yuddha. This sounds very historical or feudalistic. It is a dharma yuddha. The dharma yuddha very clearly distinguishes. If you learn from Mahabharata, in Mahabharata, the whole war was not dharma yuddha. The war from the side of the 5 brothers, Pandav, was dharma yuddha. The yuddha from the other side, Kaurav side, was not dharma yuddha. Why the war on the side of the Pandav were called dharma yuddha was because their objective was very clear. Their objective was to uphold dharma. Dharma is, in the very, very sociological sense, it is a climate of survival, a culture of living and letting others live. That is what dharma. Dharma that binds us together to make us successful is dharma, and in that sense it is life sustaining principles, values. And the Kaurav led by Duryodhan was against dharma. They did not want these 5 brothers to survive. By denying even a small piece of land, even the size of the tip of a needle, he said, I would not give to you. That means in those days, land was the basic sustenance, and you are denied of that sustenance. That means I condemn you to death. A king cannot condemn people to death. Then because the thought of king becomes law, adharma becomes law, and they wanted to resist, and they wanted to uphold that dharma. That was their objective. Killing the Kaurav was never the objective of the Pandav. In fact, their whole fight was moved by their love. If you see the 18 days of war, 18 days, the Mahabharat war, every day evening when the war was brought to a halt, as part of the dharma yuddha, they sat to take stock of the situation. Every day Pandav cried. Every day the Pandav cried. Why? Because they did not want to kill. They just wanted to restore. They just wanted to bring sense to the other party. They did not want to kill. But in a surgical endeavor, like doctors make earnest effort to save the life by undertaking a surgery, sometimes fail. The doctors, when the patient die, are really very hurt, wounded. That is what the mind of the Pandavas. They were trying to bring justice, dharma, on the side of the Kaurav, and the effort was failing. And the nemesis was Karna. So long as Karna was on the other side, these people cannot win. And the day Karna was dead, these people must have been happy, but on that day only they cried a lot, because that was not the objective. Their fight was moved by love. Their fight was driven by the concern for inclusive justice for all the people. That is what Satyagraha, and that is what we learned from Gandhi. If we rise to that level of perspective, if we can see humanity as one society, if we see ecosystem as one entity of which I am an integral part, I am the ecosystem. If we can come into that perspective, then all these ideas of handling conflict through inclusivity will unfold in our act naturally. If I know that you are my integral part, you are my close brother and sister, I will not take weapon. It will not take. So reperceiving nation, reperceiving social, human society, reperceiving ecosystem as my own extension is a very essential precondition for reconstructing society through Satyagraha. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for a very insightful lecture. I now request Madam Beauty Das, member Assam Gandhi Smaraka Nidhi, to facilitate Dr. Chelladurai by presenting a memento. We're now moving on to the next lecture, which is the last lecture in this session. It is a pre-recorded video by Dr. Mario Marazitti, senior member of a community of Sant Egidio. He is a distinguished advocate for human rights and a prominent figure in the global movement against the death penalty. He serves as a spokesperson for the community of Sant Egidio, an international Catholic association dedicated to social justice, where he has played a key role in advancing the cause of the death penalty abolition. In addition to his advocacy work, Dr. Marazitti has a notable political career, serving as a deputy in Italy's Camera dei Deputati, where he worked on various human rights and social issues. ಇದು ಮುಂದಿನ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಈ ಕೊನೆಯ ಚರ್ಚೆಯಾಗಿದೆ ಈ ಸೆಷನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮಾರಿಯೋ ಮರಜಿಟ್ಟಿ ಅವರು ಮಾನವ ಹಕ್ಕುಗಳ ಪ್ರಖರ ಹೋರಾಟಗಾರರಾಗಿದ್ದು ಮರಣದಂಡನೆ ವಿರೋಧ ಜಾಗತಿಕ ಚಳುವಳಿಯ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ನ್ಯಾಯಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಿರುವ ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಕ್ಯಾಥಲಿಕ್ ಸಂಘಟನೆ ಸಂತ್ ಅಗಿಡಿಯೋ ಸಮುದಾಯದ ಪ್ರಚಾರಕರಾಗಿ ಸೇವೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Greetings to each of you. This important forum on Gandhi in the 21st century. We come from different countries, cultures, religions. My greetings. My name is Mario Marazitti. I'm speaking on behalf of the community of Sant'Egidio, the friends of the Gandhi Smaraka Nidhi world. And on behalf of Professor Andrea Riccardi, I send you my deepest wishes for your work and our common commitment to try to change the world by using non-violence, changing better hope. And I want to take seriously the very core of your initiative. Is Mahatma Gandhi's thought and teaching and life something over, or it is what can save the world another time in our times? I remember when he said, after the atomic bomb, there have been cataclysmic changes in the world. Do I still adhere to my faith in truth and non-violence? Has not the atom exploded that faith? Not only has it not done so, but it has clearly demonstrated to me that the twins constitute the mightiest force in the world. If I remember well. Before it, the atom bomb is of no effect. The two opposing forces are wholly different in kind, the one moral and spiritual, and the other physical and material. And the spiritual one, is infinitely superior to the other, which by its very nature has an end. He said that when it was very difficult to imagine that. And in our times, the nuclear war, atomic bomb, incredibly more powerful than the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs, are becoming part of the public speech as never before. And war has become trendy as never before. And this is why I think that we must find in that moral resistance the key to try to change again the world in better, and to give up violence, and to discover the beauty to live together. We met the first times along the path that was started by St. John Paul II in 1986 with a special day of prayer and fasting in Assisi, prayer for peace. At a time in which they were speaking of Star Wars, we still had two blocs, the Soviet Union and the Western world, America, and Ronald Reagan, and the feeling of Pope John Paul II was that the prayer of the Christians, even if many, was not enough. And we had to pray all together. So gathering together to pray one by the other one, each one in its own tradition, asking from God the unique gift of peace, that it is the most beautiful name of God. And starting from 1987, the community of Sant'Egidio took the responsibility from a grassroots level and a high level to continue the spirit of Assisi, because the final call was, we have to become artisans of peace. We can build up, each of us is called to become and to be an artisan of peace. This is how we met with your Hindu world, with some great souls, and with the people who are organizing this forum. And over these years, many times, that prayer was really showing its effects, also in an apparent way. I remember when in 1992, the civil war in Mozambique was ended by a negotiation created by the community of Sant'Egidio, promoted by it with some allies. And after 26 months of talks, a war that has created in 16 years 1 million casualties and dead, and millions of displaced people, was ended. And in 1989, the Berlin Wall crashed, and the world had a new season of hope. But then the markets were stronger than the good taste of living together equal in peace and justice, and creating also a soul, discovering a soul in globalization. We cannot have a globalization of economy if we do not have a globalization of a spiritual globalization. And over these years, step by step, the war has become more trendy. In this moment, there are wars where it is difficult to say clearly what is good, what is wrong, where to stay, because they are not black and white. Even if there are responsibilities, the one who invades is always the invader. The one who starts, it is the one who starts, but there are the ancient reasons for the war, the roots. The only way to start defeating wars is to put ourselves on the side of the victims. And the victims are entire peoples blackmailed by those who make war, like prisoners. Our point of view must be the point of view, the angle of view of the victims. And this helps us to understand the absurdity of the war, even when we have good reasons to complain or to accumulate hatred, because we suffer, or our beloved ones suffered a lot. In this moment, we do not know the number of the victims of the many wars in our times. In Ukraine, the UN says that at least 20,000 civilians were killed without any reason, but we know that they may be 2-3 times more. And then there are the military. The United States speak of 70,000 military that died on the Ukrainian side. But if we look at the Gaza-Israeli war, a terrible attack on October 7th does not cancel the problem that at least 20,000 civilians lives were destroyed in Gaza over this month, and that in Africa there are wars like in Sudan that abrupted suddenly some months ago, a year ago, and we already have at least 380,000 dead and at least 25,000 civilians that were killed in that conflict. I come myself from Nairobi and from the last session in Rome of the peace negotiation for South Sudan. It became independent 13 years ago. We had that independence. There was a civil war inside Sudan to create South Sudan as an independent state for 20 years. And it is 13 years from the very first weeks after the independence that some war started again inside. We have never tasted a normal life without killing, without receiving and creating pain. So, is it possible to do something in this world? It is still actual, Mahatma Gandhi's call to disarm our hearts as Jesus taught all the Christians. Love your enemy. It is the toughest thing to learn, and to learn how to live it. But we can look in face at wars and not be just part of the war propaganda communication. We live in an infocratic society, at least in the West, but globalization is making all the world united in that. So what is narrated is very often more real, looks more real than reality. And this makes very difficult to decide what is good, what is bad, and to stay on the side of the truth that is the only true religion. This is how the world has started to be scattered and shattered, because in this infocratic society, the individual becomes the only certainty, and we are starting to be a world of billions of individuals instead of being a world that has a common destiny and feels the common destiny as the normality. The world has stopped to identify ourselves in the other one. Only in this way we can make war, because you cannot destroy yourself if you look at yourself in the eyes of the other one. And this is why at Santa Gigi we think we have to work together, all religions, all people of good faith, of people of goodwill, to re-identify ourselves in the other one, to create from many, many I, step by step, a we. It is the we that can save the world. We must recreate the sense of community in our communities, because it is the only way in which the other one still remains my brother, my sister, my friend, and not a possible enemy. And at the end of the day, somebody that is a competitor that can take something away from me and I can kill. I am one of the co-founders of the World Coalition Against the Death Penalty. For years I heard those who support the death penalty saying, only when you eliminate, when you execute, when you destroy the life of the killer, of the bad person, then there will be closure, there will be some justice, some new balance in the world. But I met the father of a woman that had been killed during the Oklahoma bombing in the United States, where a state building was destroyed and more than 100 people died in that attack. The father had lost a beautiful young woman that was helping foreigners, was helping refugees, doing a good job, was a good woman, was a good girl. And the killer was a former Marine that had decided that he wanted to recreate justice because the state, in his opinion, had done something wrong, and he killed, destroyed the lives of many. So one father was hating the killers, but then saw on television the father of the killer that was really in pain because he was asking himself where and what and when I was wrong. I tried to raise a good person, a good boy. He was a good boy. He was a good military, a good soldier in the military. And now what happened? So he was destroyed by the feeling of remorse, sense of fault. And he recognized the same pain. Then he went to visit that father. They had each other, and they started to cry. And they together reinforced the movement of mothers, victims, families for reconciliation. Because only reconciliation, only forgiveness can heal the world. And this is valid at a personal level and at a state level. We are not longing for no wars. We have to recreate a united world where our new generation can taste the taste of living together in peace, building up what is necessary to everyone in a planet that we, our generation, are living in a really bad state to them. So we can start the disarmament of hearts, and starting from ourselves. This can be a key to keep changing the world, even if maybe it is not tomorrow. Was the great wisdom of Mahatma Gandhi that could see what was looking as impossible. And so let's start to disarm our hearts. Let's build peace inside us, and millions will receive it in a mysterious but real way around us. Thank you. From Rome, from Saturday.
I welcome you all to the next session on Gandhi for Sustainable and Equitable Development. I would like to introduce our speakers and also would like to call them upon stage. I would invite all the speakers to the stage first, then I will introduce them before their speech. First we have Shri Prasanna. I would like to request Dr. D.M. Divakar to please come on stage. And Shri Uttam Kumar Sinha ji. Sir, please come on stage. Shri Prasanna is a distinguished Indian theatre director, writer and social activist deeply rooted in the cultural and environmental spheres of Karnataka. Prasanna is a fervent advocate of sustainable living and rural empowerment. He is the founder of Charka, a 30-year-old women's cooperative society based in Shivamogga district of Karnataka that strives to create sustainable employment opportunities for rural artisans through the practice of handloom weaving and natural dyeing. He has also founded the Bengaluru-based Desi Trust, which helps in marketing handmade products and creating awareness among urban consumers about sustainable lifestyle choices. His multifaceted work seamlessly integrates constructive work at the grassroots with socio-cultural activism, making him a pivotal figure in contemporary India's art and social landscapes. ಶ್ರೀ ಪ್ರಸನ್ನ ಅವರು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೈಮಗ್ಗ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರವನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸಲು ಮತ್ತು ಸುಸ್ಥಿರ ಜೀವನ ಶೈಲಿಯ ಪ್ರಚಾರದ ಕೆಲಸದಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿಸಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವರು ಪ್ರಖ್ಯಾತ ನಾಟಕಕಾರರಾಗಿದ್ದು ರಂಗಭೂಮಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪಾರವಾದ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸರ್, ಐ ವುಡ್ ನೌ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಯು ಟು ಡೆಲಿವರ್ ದ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್.
ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, ನಾನು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ನನ್ನ ಕನ್ನಡದ ಗೆಳೆಯರು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಸಹಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. I had actually come with a prepared paper and all ready to go, but after coming here and listening to the few talks that happened before me, I have decided to go extempo. I may disappoint you a bit by talking what sounds negative. Let me explain. I'm a theatre person, and if I'm any interested in sustainability, it really started with theatre. You know, in theatre, you cannot do theatre unless you are very, very sustainable. There is no money in theatre. You know, in theatre, everything has to be redone, recycled, and you have to do Shakespeare again and again, Kalidasa again and again. So it is in our blood. And then I also became more and more interested in sustainability, and about 38 years back, I got tired of Delhi, of the big city, and shifted my base to a small village called Hegodu and started working with the handlooms. For about 30 years, I worked so intensely with handlooms that I almost forgot my theatre work. I forgot Delhi, I forgot Bombay. And eventually, this cooperative of rural, below poverty line, poor women has now become the largest producer of naturally dyed handloom in the country. It has a capacity of about 30 to 40,000 meters a month. But there is another aspect to me. I am also a scientist. I used to be a scientist doing research in Kanpur IIT before I switched sides and became a theatre person. So these two opposing things makes me sometimes realize certain things and feel very sad about it. For example, I now know that this world is not going to sustain. When Mr. Siddaramaiah, our dear Chief Minister, talked about Stephen Hawking and about that particular book in which Stephen Hawking discusses the problem of humanity and its survival, he was talking of a man who, with utter unemotional style, he declares that the humanity is not going to survive for more than, let's say, 5 decades. Stephen Hawking gives 5 decades for our survival, and I have started to feel that we have even less time to really survive. But it did not make me feel unhappy, because I realized that if something is going to happen which is beyond me, I thought, how do I respond to it? I said, well, I still have to live, and I still have to live the way I want to live, and so I am quite happy. And I'm continuing to do what I'm doing, but with much less tension and much less pressure on changing the world. All this, as I said, came extempore because I was listening, for example, to all of them, but especially this man who was talking about the change in human heart. And all the while when I was listening to him, I said, oh my God, it takes so long to change hearts. It took Gandhiji so long to change hearts. It takes everybody to change hearts. And to construct organizations, it takes even more time to construct organizations. And do we really have the time? I don't think we have the time. As a scientist, I know we don't have the time. So what do we do? We have been talking theory here. We all know theory. We all know how to build a civilized society. But we also know that the only problem with this society is that it is too easy, too luxurious. We are asking people to give up luxury. We are asking people to give up easy life. And the only time when an animal did not have luxury and easy life was when it was not accessible to it. The greatest thing about nature, the greatest thing about an animal is that it is bound by its limitation. An animal is bound by its limitation, and that is why it is God. We say nature is God. Why is nature God? Because it is completely bound by its limitation. A fish can only swim, a snake can only twirl like that, and a bird can fly. But a bird can't swim and a fish can't fly. That's when nature is fine. What happens when you get your hands? which is what bothered Gandhiji and Buddha and Basava and Sri Ramachandra the most. They all knew, Bible knew, that the moment the hand came into existence, there was danger. In Bible, there's a very clear story of God telling that, look, I like you, but I am not happy. I'm very, very worried. And then exactly what he was worried happens. You know the story of the Garden of Eden and all that. But then we have moved millions and millions of kilometers away from the Garden of Eden. You see, the Buddha, the Basava, the Kabir, the Nanak, all of them happened before automation. They all said great things when automation wasn't there and they were trying to control, trying to make people civilized. Sometimes it even worked. Often it didn't work, but sometimes it worked. But what happens after automation comes into being? Gandhi's significance is that he is the first saint after automation, or the last saint before automation became a big thing in India. He's a transitional figure, and he manages to remain as a saint, incorporating automation into the larger problem of civilizational construction, which Buddha, Basavanna, Sri Ramachandra, all of them had done. So we know that Gandhi is the solution, if at all there is a solution, for the global warming. We know that Gandhi is the solution, if at all there is a solution, for the moral crisis, ethical crisis, social, economic, every crisis. But are we able to achieve that? I heard the main speaker feeling so unhappy about what is happening to Gandhian institutions. It is true. Gandhian institutions have become exactly like the priest becomes after the temple gets established and every ritual is established. He goes on doing the ritual and he gets submerged in the ritual, and the structure becomes more important than the dynamic idea. This happened to Christianity, this happened to Hinduism, this happened to Gandhiji. So I think we should try and generate a metaphor. We may succeed, we may fail. But let me tell you, by just organizing numbers, you are not, or I am not going to get Gandhiji into reality. Gandhiji was never numbers. He was always metaphorical. As some of the speakers very correctly put it, the congressmen never agreed with the best programs of Gandhiji because they thought that he was a foolish man. Salt Satyagraha they thought was a foolish program. But Salt Satyagraha succeeded because it was the most amazing metaphor, and it was implemented. The metaphor was implemented with utmost commitment from those 78 people who went with Gandhiji. And then the 78 million people joined him. So the problem really lies in converting once again the structured Gandhiji, the formal Gandhiji, the Gandhiji in books, the Gandhiji in ideas, the Gandhiji in theory, into a metaphor. We have to do that if we can. How do we do that? I don't know. Let me end because there are many other speakers also. I don't want to talk for too long. After doing Charkha for about 38 years, I realized that it was now running, more or less running. Not the best way I would have thought, but it was running, so I thought I should get out. I shouldn't be the old man poking one's nose into the affairs of an organization and not allow them to commit their own mistakes. So last year, I moved out of Charkha and I was thinking, where do I go? I have lived in the midst of the most beautiful Western Ghats region, the greenest part, and where do I go from there? I decided I'll go to Bombay, because that's the real opposite that you can find in India. And in Bombay, let me tell you of something very interesting that is happening. Not many Gandhians, not many bureaucrats know about it. You know, in the last 2-3 decades, young people are dropping out of cushy jobs, dropping out of happy homes, and dropping out and getting into what? All are getting into or wanting to become actors. You know, this is something like what used to happen during the independence movement when millions and millions of young people were going and becoming great freedom fighters. Or like the 70s when they all went to become Naxalites. Today, they're all becoming aspiring actors. And let me tell you the horror story, the other story, other part of all the beautiful things. In Bombay, in Warsaw, Andheri West, and what they call Mud Island, Fishing Island, at any given time you'll find 50,000 aspirants living sometimes 4 in a room, in the most obnoxious condition ever. And initially I used to be very cynical because I thought they were all going there to become film stars. And then I realized that they have nothing else to do. They want to express themselves. And some of them, a lot of them in fact, are Dalits, a lot of them are girls. They go there wanting to express, and the moment they see some teacher, somebody like me, they just throng there and they want to learn, they want to express. This is also independence movement. I want to tell you that what is happening in Bombay is an irresponsible situation where we have not looked at as an independence movement. Every family is suffering this. In every family, at least a girl or a boy has decided to drop out. The whole family is worried. They're spending huge amounts of money to stop the boy or a girl from going there. But this girl and a boy has gone to acting. So I have decided to spend time in that ghetto. I call it the actors' ghetto, the Warsaw, Andheri West. And maybe I will find a solution. If I find, I will definitely share it with you. And with this positive note, I want to end my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prasanna ji, for speaking the truth, and despite it being hard to digest, and the need for a metaphor to take this cause forward. Thank you so much. Our next speaker for the session is Professor D.M. Divakar, who has come all the way from Patna. Dr. D.M. Divakar is a distinguished economist and academician with over 3 decades research experience, currently serving as the director of A.N. Sinha Institute of Social Studies in Patna, Bihar. His extensive work focuses on agrarian economics, rural development, social justice. Known for his Gandhian approach to economic issues, Dr. Divakar has contributed significantly towards advocating equity, land reforms, and decentralized development as solutions to contemporary challenges in rural India. Professor D.M. Divakar avaru ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ತಜ್ಞರು ಹಾಗೂ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ತಜ್ಞರು. ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತ ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣ ಭಾರತದ ಸವಾಲುಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಮಾನತೆಯ ತಳಹದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿಹಾರವನ್ನು ಪ್ರತಿಪಾದಿಸುತ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. I request Divakar ji to share his insights with us on this topic.
August galaxy of scholars and thinkers on the dais of the dais. It is my privilege, opportunity to be here with you and share my views. In fact, I came with a PowerPoint presentation, because once you don't have power in a speech, then you make a PowerPoint presentation. But after listening you, I dropped the idea. I thought I should share some stray thoughts that I have in my mind. Of course, a few things for the reality I will try to share my concern as well. If I have to confess myself, I am not a man who should be here. I don't know Gandhi. I tried to understand part of it when my mother spun wheels and I got clothes. So I was introduced with Khadi economics in my family itself. The second stage came when my father was with the Bhudan movement, a co-worker in the field. I could have a sense of that struggle where he could find some solution for pieces of lands with some of the poor people. And third stage came when I joined Gandhian Institute of Studies, Varanasi, literally started reading. Earlier I thought Gandhi was simple, but when I started reading Gandhi, it became more and more difficult for me to understand. Being a student of economics trained in social science research, I tried my level best and hard to put the Gandhi in that frame, and I failed, because he cannot be put in those frames. Somebody says he is a practical idealist. Others says he is an evolving man who learns from day-to-day life, theorize his concept, bring it back to the people as a praxis. And still he says that he does not know anything. He gets something from the society, so he is not saying anything new. And then, gradually, I thought it is very difficult to understand Gandhi. Can I try to understand myself? So that search is going on. And here I am again to learn from you people here listening in these 2 days. The concern that I have chosen to put before you is growing inequalities and sustainable development. Can we have anything to get from the Gandhi for this? When we take the point sustainable development, it has become a fashion after UNDP and UN resolution, say global community resolution, that we have 17 sustainable development goals, and after some of years, earlier we had 8 millennium development goals of the global community. Later we have now 17 development goals where we are trying to achieve it by 2030. And then we are saying development, and it has become fashion everywhere we are talking anything with sustainability. My problem is that are we going to sustain what we have with us, or we are really interested in sustainability? If you are really interested in sustainability, I found one formula from Ishavasya Brihadaranya Upanishad, that is Ishavasya Upanishad, in Santi part it comes Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnmuchite Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. That means 0 plus 0 is equal to 0, 0 minus 0 is equal to 0. If you put mathematically so simply. So how can we think of, as rightly Professor Prasanna was sharing when he was saying that when hands came, I'm doing a little extension of that. If that limbs goes to the technology and start exploiting the nature without any rationality, where we have lent up now? And then, if we are in crisis, then we are looking back to Gandhi for a solution. First thing that came in my mind is Gandhi is not a piece of idea. If you have to take Gandhi, you can't take comfortable part of Gandhi and leave the other parts. And that is a very crucial one. It's not only government. Whole development process, if you talk of it, whenever they are in crisis and they want to get solution, to say others that, look, you have not to do these things and let us go with these things. That means if there is carbon emission, so let the developed nations contribute highest carbon emission and the benefits of luxury, and let the poor suffer. And the reports, series of reports come where it says that the contribution to carbon emission is very, very less with the poor people. Take World Bank report 2024, take Piketty's report 2022 and letters. On the one side, the inequality in distribution of income and wealth is growing. Carbon emission is also growing equally with a positive relation. The luxurious people, luxurious society, luxurious lifestyle that emits, that are the more contributors of carbon footprint, and poor are the less. If this is the stock of or the outcome of this development that you have, and then you have a concern of sustainability of development, I say no. Gandhi is not a solution. Because Gandhi cannot say that you can consume irrationally and then take answer from Gandhi. It's not that. It's a different way of life. And it cannot be in piecemeal. It is an integrated way of life, a worldview, which stops you to be luxurious, which stops you to be irrational, which stops us to consume mindlessly. Now question comes, where we have reached, are we ready to go back? Technology has its own nuances. It provides skills. It gives comforts. It lessens drudgery. But at the same time, it creates side effects of the other destruction as well, where the balances of nature has to do something wrong. And in such a situation, if we have to understand, are we ready to listen Gandhi? I say no. We are trying to listen Gandhi when we are in crisis. But remind Gandhi, recall Gandhi before independence in early 30s, Young India writings, when he was warning us that industrialism is going to be a curse. He did not say industrialization is going to be a curse. Industrialism is going to be a curse. And inevitably it will lead to exploitation of the nations. And if India goes to that line, and then he says that the future of Europe is dark, will it not be darker for us and menace to the world? But we did not listen. If we try to listen Gandhi, that means we have to listen his criticism, his critique of industrialism. We are not ready. We feel comfortable with ACs, with comfortable lives, with good amount of electricity. And then we want to say that, is there any answer from Gandhi? It's not. To me, it appears that if you have to understand Gandhi, when himself started unfolding, he started unfolding with visiting Indian villages. He shed away all the clothes. He had only one. From Champaran Satyagraha to Bardoli and other places, I don't want to repeat those things. Everywhere the lessons. Now, since the matter has come to conclusion, it has been asked by the organizer, I know the pressure of time. Forget everything. Can we begin anything if we have to think of? My mind comes that when Gandhi came to Champaran, he gave us few lessons. How did he start? He started understanding people. He started documentation. He asked Rajendra Babu and Anugrah Babu and Braj Kishore Babu to declass himself. He asked their servants to go. And when Anugrah Babu said that I don't know how to bake my bread, and he said, you have to learn, so long you are not doing, I will bake for you. Are you ready to have that discipline? And that means creating cadres. We have been listening about the Satyagraha and Satyagrahis. Talking is very easy. But to become a Satyagrahi, I salute those Gandhians who are here. They have been in practice for decades. And they are trying to understand the conflicts. They are trying to be with the people with their all limitations. They are not demigod. They cannot do everything. But they are trying their best they can do in this society. I am not appreciating them for self-consolation. But if one has to go for any sacrifice, one has to look into the ground reality as well. And to me, it looks like that anything is to be started, it can be started through education. Gandhi started Nai Talim. Champaran Satyagraha was the beginning, documentation, and then why farmers did not agitate, that means there is lack of proper education, and he started schools. And it's not a school of walls, it is a school of experiments, through experiments. And therefore, varieties of schools. So I cannot say you to go back to 1930s. What I am saying now, are we ready to reinvent and understand Gandhi in the present context? Had Gandhi been here today, what could have been the action? Can we sit together to find out the action plan instead of asking others, can we start myself? Can I start myself? That is the issue. And in such situation, to me it appears that nothing is impossible. If you will start with education, we can have education for Satyagrahi as well. We can have education for child who is coming up to become a good citizen later. What kind of education? Again, that is a big question. It's not that you can just imitate something from the others. Localized, situation-specific framework can be created, and through which we can, let us build that. Never is too late. You can start from scratch and we can move forward. I am not disappointed. I think that at this stage, when we have lots of crises, the crisis is much more than what we had at the colonial rule. Now we have the dismantled democratic institutions. The other things are equally in a bad shape. Our institutions are attacked, be it Sabarmati, be it Sarv Seva Sangh, it has been demolished. Our own elected government is not going with the cause of the people. Gandhi said idleness is the root cause. Employment and poverty reduction is the first. That is not in agenda at all now. You have Hindu Rashtra in agenda. And Hindu Rashtra doesn't need a job. It needs a temple. Therefore, we have to think of a framework where we can start education to create citizens. We are creating machines in terms of educated institutions where we appreciate that this institution has high placement rate. Whereas human being in that placement. We have ATM cards. Instead of human being, we have the ATM cards who give the better packages. Let us build those institutions. Can we revisit Bardha conference? Can we come back from there till date? What we have lost, where we are now, and how can we move forward? Perhaps the question of inequality, question of equality, perception, Buddha, Kabir or Bashva or anybody else, perceptions are there. Can we convert them into consciousness? Unless perceptions are converted into consciousness through material conditions, through education, through putting the people into a struggle, can we begin with education? Thank you so much for giving me patient hearing. Thank you. Sorry, I distracted.
Thank you, Divakarji, for sharing with us the link between our unsustainable lifestyles and relating it to Gandhian philosophy, and also stressing on the importance of education. Next, we have with us on the topic of Gandhi for Sustainable and Equitable Development, Shri Uttam Kumar Sinha, who has joined us today from Delhi. Shri Uttam Kumar Sinha has dedicated over 30 years to promoting Gandhian ideology and conducting research on various aspects of Gandhi's life and teachings. Since 2013, he has been serving as the Joint Director of the National Gandhi Museum, where he oversees key projects, including the translation and publication of Mahadev Desai's diaries from Gujarati to English and Hindi. In addition to his administrative responsibilities, he actively engages in research on topics such as sustainability, Gram Swaraj, and Gandhian constructive work. His scholarly contributions include co-authoring the book JP 100 Years Text and Context with Professor Ramji Singh. His work at the National Gandhi Museum has resulted in several important publications that continue to spread Gandhian thought. Shri Uttam Kumar Sinha ಅವರು 3 ದಶಕಗಳಿಂದ ಗಾಂಧಿ ತತ್ವಗಳ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಹಾಗೂ ಪ್ರಚಾರ ನಡೆಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವರು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಸಂಗ್ರಹಾಲಯದ ಜಂಟಿ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರಾಗಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಪ್ರಕಾಶನಗಳನ್ನು ಹೊರತಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. I request Uttam Kumar ji to deliver his lecture on the topic.
respected speakers on the dais, learned audience, since I have been associated with an institution named after Gandhi, so I searched for the problem which we are facing today within Gandhian philosophy itself. But when I started to organize my thoughts on the subject, I felt an abject difficulty in choosing a particular area of Gandhi's thought which sounds more closer to the relatively new concept of sustainability and sustainable development. The reason here is obvious because all of Gandhi's thoughts and experiments were directed only towards development of human society, whether it is political, economic, social, cultural, and even spiritual. And covering all these to do a comparison with the idea of sustainability was impossible within given time frame. Finally, my afterthoughts led my focus onto Gandhiji's unitary model of development, village Swaraj. As Swaraj is his broader vision of development and village Swaraj is operative part of it, as sustainability is broader vision of development of post-industrial age and sustainable development is operative part of it. This is how this framework of comparison evolved. Sustainability, it's not new concept now, everybody know. Movement as a whole has roots in social justice, conservation, internationalism and other past movements with rich histories. By the end of 20th centuries, many of these ideas had come together in a call for sustainable development. It is not just environmentalism. In addition to natural resources, we also need social and economic resources. Therefore, it includes social equity and economic development, which makes it holistic in approach that considers ecological, social, and economic dimensions, with recognition that all must be considered together to find lasting prosperity. After decades of efforts to raise living standards through industrialization, many countries were still dealing with extreme poverty. The realization of the fact that economic development at the cost of ecological health and social equity did not lead to long-lasting prosperity compelled the world to find a way to harmonize ecology with prosperity. In this background, this World Commission of Environment and Development was set up, and how this Harlem-Brundtland report, Our Common Future, came into being, which defines sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This was the simplest definition of sustainability, which became very popular. The word sustainability since then used to indicate programs and initiatives, actions aimed at preserving a particular resource. However, it actually covered 4 distinct dimensions: human, social, economic, and environmental, to be known as 4 pillars of sustainability. Gradually, it became a social goal for people to coexist on Earth over a long time. Sustainable development aims at assuring the ongoing productivity of exploitable natural resources and conserving all species of fauna and flora. This is how 17 goals came into being, and we all know recently speakers in the previous session who have discussed about these 17 goals, so I don't think there is need of repeating it, but in nutshell, let me put it. First is end of poverty, end of hunger, ensure healthy lives, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education, achieve gender equality, ensure clean and safe water and sanitation for all, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable energy for all, promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all, build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization and foster innovation, reduce inequality within and among countries, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts, conserve and sustainably use the ocean, sea, and marine resources, protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of territorial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, halt and reserve land degradation, biodiversity losses, promote peaceful and inclusive societies, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels, strengthen means of implementation, and revitalize global partnership for sustainable development. Here it is crucial to know that India is at 109th position among 193 countries as per the Global Sustainable Development Report 2023 of United Nations. The SDG India Index 23-24 maintained by Niti Aayog suggests that overall score achieved by India is 71 out of 100, which puts it in front of runners category, though on ground discontent and dissatisfaction among common masses had hardly seemed removed. It is surprising that a front-runner country has failed to check unemployment, economic equality, social distrust, rampant corruption at political and bureaucratic level. It indicates that something is wrong with the implementation mechanism, or the indicators of measuring progress are inadequate to show actual results. Now let us explore a bit Gandhiji's idea of Swaraj and village Swaraj in pursuance of this comparison. The word Swaraj is a sacred word, a Vedic word meaning self-rule and self-restraint, and not freedom from all restraint, which independence often means, says Gandhiji. At another place, he says, the Swaraj is my dream, is of my dream is the poor man's Swaraj. The necessaries of life should be enjoyed by you in common with those enjoyed by the princess and the moneyed man. But that doesn't mean that they should have places like theirs. They are not necessary for happiness. You or I would be lost in them, but you ought to get all the ordinary amenities of life that a rich man enjoys. I have not slightest doubt that Swaraj is not Purna Swaraj until these amenities are guaranteed to you under it. In other words, it also says about the same 17 desirable goals, which are nothing else but then amenities which is needed for the human society. About village Swaraj, he says to serve our village is to establish Swaraj. Everything else is but an ideal dream. He further says, if the village perishes, India will perish too. It will be no more India. Her own mission in the world will get lost. The status of village that Gandhiji imagined in political, social and economic structure of independent India was multifaceted. In his scheme of the basic unit of the basic unit of governance would be the village, with inadequate powers to conduct their administration. His concept of village Swaraj demanded, along with self-sufficiency and self-reliance, political autonomy also. He wrote, "My village Swaraj is a complete republic, independent of its neighbor for its own vita wants. The government of the village will be conducted by panchayat of 5 persons, annually elected by the adult villagers. Panchayat will be legislature, judiciary and executive combined to operate. Here is perfect democracy based upon individual freedom." As we all know, this was not accepted or by the post-independent government, and they went on with a special model which was popular in West, and they prefer to follow that model. Now, in this context, I want to mention two important names, that is J.C. Kumarappa and Sriman Narayan Agrawal. Kumarappa and Sriman Narayan expounded his economic thought in the most holistic and original manner through his writings and life work. Kumarappa joined Gandhiji in 1929 and became Gandhiji's right hand in giving shape to his revolutionary economic ideas. Apart from many of his writings, Economy of Permanence and Why Village Movement gave him prominence. He entered deep into life of the poor of the land through his various penetrating surveys and studies of Indian villages. Sriman Narayan, comparatively young, was principal of Sheikh Sharia College of Commerce, Wardha, wrote two important books, The Gandhian Constitution of Free India and Gandhian Plan of Economic Development for India, that gave a vivid outline of his village-centric model. He coincidentally headed Gandhi Smarak Nidhi for quite some time before assuming position of India's ambassador to Nepal. While mentioning fundamentals of Gandhian economics, he highlighted 4 underlying principles of Gandhian economics. These are simplicity, non-violence, sanctity of labor, and human values. On these 4 cornerstones, Gandhiji built his ideal economy of decentralized cottage industrialism and self-sufficient village communities. Narayan further argues that these self-governing little republic all over India flourished under Hindu and Muslim governments and survived reign of dynasties and the downfall of empire, quoting from report of Committee of Secretary so-and-so. He basically outlined and interpreted Gandhi's ideas on development that was basically a village development. But since time is passing, I have to conclude. Here I want to mention one special example which during it was Gandhiji's time, but very interesting in the context of how development should have been taken in our country. Things should have more better than what we are having today. It is about Mahatma Gandhi and the Indian written by one Narendra Chappalgaonkar, a former judge of High Court of Bombay. Written in historical setting, it apt of mentioning here, it explores in detail why did Constituent Assembly of India discard Mahatma Gandhi's concept of constitutional structure and gave prominence to villages and prefer parliamentary democracy instead. Why did this? He mentions that an experiment which was made in 70 or 72 villages of the small princely state of Ond, now in Satara district of South Maharashtra, from 1939 to 1948 until the state merger with the Indian Union. The King Bhagwan Rao Pant Pratinidhi, who ascended to throne of his state in 1923, was a believer in the principle of power to the people. His administration would run by people's representative. Gandhiji blessed the idea of the king. The young prince of the state, Appa Saheb Pant, was an activist in the freedom movement. During the year 1938, when the young prince visited Bengaluru, he had occasion of meeting with Maurice Friedman, a police by birth, employed as an electrical engineer in the service of Mysore state, and was interested in social radicalism. Both had discussion about perspective experiment of Swaraj in Ond. Friedman shifted to Ond after some time to join the democratic experiment of the king. He travelled to village accompanying Appa Saheb, the young prince, and penned the charter granting freedom to people of Ond, which was later proclaimed. Okay. So this was considered to be the most successful example of village Swaraj during Gandhi's time. What I want to say that since sustainability or sustainable development focuses on 4 pillars of human society, that is economic, social, and environmental, and human. But Gandhi, going beyond that, considers moral and ethical, even spiritual aspect of human life. And his village Swaraj has all these ingredients for a sustainable development. This is how he adds value to the present idea or present framework of sustainable development. Thank you for your time. I hope I could have presented my work. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Uttam Kumar Sinha ji. I now request Shri K. Rangarao, Secretary, Telangana Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, to come over and felicitate Shri Prasanna. Thank you, Rangarao ji. I request Srimati Ranjana Goyal, Advisor, Chandigarh Gandhi Bhavan, to please come over and present the mementos to Professor D.M. Divakar. Thank you, Ranjana. I now request Srimati B.R. Mamata, Member Karnataka Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, to come over and present the memento to Shri Uttam Kumar Sinha ji. Thank you, Mamata Madam. So I know we are all running out of time and tea is waiting, but before that, I request the guests to please take your seats. We have one last presentation. This is a guest speaker who could not come today and join us in person, so he has sent a video recording. So Dr. Vinya Shantidas Ariyaratne is the Director General of the Sarvodaya Institute of Higher Learning and the President of the Sarvodaya Shramadana Movement, Sri Lanka's largest grassroots development organization. A certified specialist in community medicine, Dr. Ariyaratne holds degrees in medicine and public health. In 2000, he joined Sarvodaya as Executive Director, leading innovative community health and development programs. Dr. Ariyaratne has played a crucial role in humanitarian efforts, particularly during the Sri Lankan Civil War and the 2004 tsunami recovery. He is a founding member of the People's Health Movement in Sri Lanka. So let's hear from him. Thank you.
Good afternoon, dear elders, brothers and sisters. At the outset, let me thank Mr. Sudhindra Kulkarni and Karnataka Gandhi Smaraka Nidhi for inviting me to share my thoughts at this important gathering on the theme Mahatma Gandhi for the 21st century. I regret that I am unable to be present in person to share my thoughts with you this afternoon. At the outset, let me also mention that I am not a Gandhian scholar. My own understanding of the Gandhian philosophy and practice is derived from my lifelong association with the Sarvodaya Shramadana movement, which was founded by late Dr. A.P. Ariyaratne, who is my father. I grew up in a home which was filled with books, pamphlets, photos, recordings, and printed posters with quotes from Mahatma Gandhi. In 1969, when the Gandhi centenary was celebrated and I was only 7 years old, I vividly remember how it was celebrated with my father, Dr. A.T. Ariyaratne, and with his band of volunteers organizing commemorations throughout Sri Lanka. As we gather today to reflect on the enduring wisdom of Mahatma Gandhi and the relevance of his vision in shaping sustainable and equitable development, we can draw heavily from his teachings and practice. In an era marked by growing inequality and environmental challenges, Gandhi's ideas offer us a powerful framework for development, one that prioritizes human dignity, social justice, and the harmonious coexistence of people and nature. The Sarvodaya Shramadana movement of Sri Lanka, with its profound commitment to these values, provides us with a living example of how Gandhian principles can be put into action, which also meets the needs of a local context, as demonstrated by our work in Sri Lanka. Gandhian concept of Sarvodaya, which Gandhi defined as welfare of all, speaks directly to the idea of inclusive and equitable development. He believed that development should not be driven by the pursuit of material wealth alone, but by the well-being of every individual, especially the most marginalized. The Sarvodaya Shramadana movement in Sri Lanka, inspired by this very principle, has worked for decades to uplift the entire communities, ensuring that benefits of progress are shared by all, not just privileged few. The founder, Dr. A.T. Ariyaratne, defined Sarvodaya as awakening of all, Sarva Udaya. At the heart of Sarvodaya philosophy is the principle of Shramadana, sharing of labor. This practice reflects Gandhi's belief in the power of collective action and voluntary service as catalysts of change. When people come together Offering their time and efforts selflessly, they build more than just physical infrastructure. They build trust, they build solidarity and a deep sense of belonging. This approach has allowed Sarvodaya to engage communities across Sri Lanka in initiatives that not only address their immediate needs but also empower them to become agents of their own development. We call this "We build the road builds us." So it empowers communities in large numbers towards self-development. Gandhi's vision for equitable development was rooted in the idea of Swaraj or self-governance, where communities take control of their own resources and destinies. Sarvodaya embodies this principle by promoting local leadership, participatory decision making and grassroots democracy. The movement has helped communities establish self-sustaining systems for early child education, health, nutrition, livelihood development, ensuring that development is not imposed from outside but grows organically from within. In doing so, Sarvodaya has demonstrated that true sustainability lies in empowering people to be the drivers of their own progress. We have formed legal entities which are community-based organizations called the Sarvodaya Shramadana societies around the country. More than 5,000 of them out of a country which has 38,000 villages, and they are becoming self-sustaining and forming a commonwealth of village republics as envisaged by Mahatma Gandhi. Another crucial aspect of Gandhi's thought was his insistence on ahimsa or non-violence as both a means and end to development. For Gandhi, sustainable and equitable development could never be achieved through exploitation or coercion. Sarvodaya movement has embraced this principle by fostering peace and reconciliation in communities divided by conflict. As you all know, Sri Lanka was affected by a very violent armed conflict for more than 26 years, and Sarvodaya has been in the forefront of peace building and reconciliation in Sri Lanka. Through initiatives that promote interfaith dialogue, respect for diversity and communal harmony, Sarvodaya has shown that development must be grounded in respect for human dignity and the peaceful resolution of differences. Furthermore, Gandhi's approach to economic development was not one of unchecked industrialization but of balanced growth that respects the environment and prioritizes human needs. Sarvodaya's work in promoting sustainable agriculture, renewable energy and environmental conservation aligns closely with this vision. By focusing on small-scale, community-driven solutions that protect natural resources while enhancing livelihoods, Sarvodaya exemplifies how development can be both equitable and ecologically sound. In a world where disparities continue to widen and ecological degradation threatens our future, the lessons from Gandhi and Sarvodaya are more relevant than ever. They remind us that development must be about more than just economic indicators. It must be about creating conditions where everyone can thrive, where resources are shared equitably, and where growth does not come at the expense of our planet or our humanity. As we move forward, let us draw from these lessons to craft a development strategy that truly serves the common good. Let us work toward a future where progress is measured not by the wealth of a few, but by well-being of all, or what we call awakening of all, where communities are empowered to chart their own path, and where compassion, fairness and sustainability guide our every step. Relevance of Gandhian principles and practice would have been the topic for all times and seasons. In conclusion, the Sarvodaya Shramadana movement journey serves as a beacon of hope, demonstrating that Gandhi's principles are not relics of the past, but vital tools for addressing the challenges of our time. By embracing these ideals, we can build a world that is not only prosperous but just, not only sustainable but equitable, one where welfare of every person is the true measure of our success. Thank you.
So we now come to the end of this session. I thank all the speakers who have come today and have given their insights. A small announcement before tea break. At 6 p.m. we will have a cultural program by the students of Sheshadripuram College, a song and dance performance for an hour. So now we will break for tea and reassemble after 10 minutes. Tea is served right outside this hall in the corridor. Thank you.
I request everyone who's at the door to please settle down. We're starting the session. Okay, so we now begin the last session of the day. May I request the speakers to please come on stage. Professor Jagdishwar Chaturvedi, Justice H.N. Nagmohan Das, and Dr. C.B. Joseph. The topic for this session is Gandhi, Democracy and Dissent. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಕೊನೆಯ ಚರ್ಚಾಗೋಷ್ಠಿಯನ್ನು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸೋಣ. ಈ ಗೋಷ್ಠಿಯ ವಿಷಯ ಗಾಂಧಿ, ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರತಿರೋಧ. So our first speaker of this session is Professor Jagdishwar Chaturvedi. He is the former head of the Department of Hindi at the University of Calcutta. He taught for 28 years. An eminent scholar, he has written books on literary criticism, media and journalism, and women's writing. He has written almost 75 books that are published and widely accepted. His versatile writing is also spread in relevant issues of the socio-political field. He has a blog named Naya Zamana and a YouTube channel with the same name on which his live lectures and debates may be heard. ಈಗ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಜಗದೀಶ್ವರ್ ಚತುರ್ವೇದಿ ಅವರು ಮಾತನಾಡುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಇವರು ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕಟಾ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ಹಿಂದಿ ವಿಭಾಗದ ಮಾಜಿ ಮುಖ್ಯಸ್ಥರಾಗಿದ್ದು 28 ವರ್ಷಗಳು ಅಧ್ಯಾಪಕರಾಗಿದ್ದರು. ಇವರು 75ಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ರಚಿಸಿದ್ದು, ನಯಾ ಜಮಾನಾ ಎಂಬ ಬ್ಲಾಗ್ ಮತ್ತು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಮೂಲಕ ತಮ್ಮ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಗಳನ್ನು ಹಂಚಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಸರ್ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್.
मंच पे बैठे हुए विद्वज्जन और सभा में बैठे हुए विद्वज्जन दोनों को मेरा नमस्कार। और सबसे पहले मैं गांधी स्मारक निधि के लिए और दिल्ली और कर्नाटक दोनों के लिए मैं अपना हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करना चाहता हूँ। उन्होंने मुझे बुलाया। बेहतर ये होता कि मैं दोनों दिन यहाँ रहता और मैं सुनता। मुझे अचानक अपनी मजबूरी की वजह से बदलना पड़ा अपना प्लान, और मुझे अभी फ़्लाइट भी पकड़नी है, इसलिए मैं आपसे क्षमा चाहता हूँ। मैं दिन भर सुन रहा था बहुत सारी चीज़ें, बहुत ही प्रोवोकेटिव और बहुत काम की चीज़ें आई हैं बीच में। उसमें 3 लेक्चर मेरी नज़र में मुझे बहुत अच्छे लगे, तुषार जी का, प्रशांत जी का और प्रसन्ना जी का। मेरी चिंता यह है जो मैं आपसे रख रहा हूँ बहुत ही ब्रीफ में। गांधी कहाँ मिलेंगे? किताब में नहीं है वो आश्रम में भी नहीं है। ये जो रीडिंग का तरीका, हम मास्टर लोग हैं, प्रोफेसर लोग हैं, बहुत सारे लोग पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविस्ट लोग हैं तो अपने तरीके से अपने अनुकूल उद्धरण खोज लेते हैं। गांधी उद्धरण नहीं है। गांधी की सबसे सुंदर बात, सबसे खूबसूरत चीज़ जो मुझे लगी मैं जब जेएनयू में पढ़ने गया तब मैंने गांधी को पढ़ा था। उसके बाद में छूट गया। जब मेरी जेएनयू से निकल आया तो छूट गया, और फिर कोरोना क्राइसिस में मैंने गांधी को पूरा पढ़ा। गांधी का मतलब यह है कि जो मैंने समझा है, मैं आपसे साझा कर रहा हूँ, हो सकता है गलत हो। पहली बात तो ये जो वर्तमान स्थिति है उसके संदर्भ में कहना चाहता हूँ, जो डेमोक्रेसी हमने कंसीव की थी वो डेमोक्रेसी का मॉडल बदल चुका है। ये जनता की शिरकत की, जनता की सेवा के लिए जो डेमोक्रेसी बनाई गई थी, ये डेमोक्रेसी का मॉडल बदल चुका है। अब इसके निवेशक अलग लोग हैं। डेमोक्रेसी के निवेशक जनता नहीं है। सुनने में बात बहुत खराब लगती है। डेमोक्रेसी के निवेशक कॉर्पोरेट हाउसेस हैं, और ये मॉडल पूरा का पूरा बोरो किया गया। ये पहले से आ चुका था। दुर्घटना तेजी से घटी 2014 के बाद। अगर मुझे गांधी को देखना है और जानना है और समझना है तो पहली चीज जो गांधी से मैंने सीखी, यथार्थ को जानो। आप जितना अच्छा, अब देखिए, अब दिन भर से बात हो रही थी, मुझे बहुत तकलीफ हो रही थी। हम रियलिटी को देखना ही नहीं चाहते, हम जाना ही नहीं चाहते रियलिटी के पास। गांधी के पास जाएंगे कहां से? मुझे नहीं मालूम कि कर्नाटक, मुझे यहाँ आके अच्छा लगा। मैं कन्नड़ जानता तो बहुत अच्छा होता, मैं बहुत सारी चीज़ समझ पाता और मैं इंटरेक्ट भी कर पाता। यथार्थ को जाने बिना गांधी को अर्जित नहीं किया जा सकता। मैं बहुत ही बेसिक बात कहना चाहता हूं आपसे। दूसरी चीज जो गांधी जी ने दी, क्योंकि मेरे पास मात्र 10-15 मिनट है, मैं उसी में सिर्फ अपनी बात नटशेल में रखूंगा। तो सर जी ने एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण संकट की ओर ध्यान खींचा। वो संकट है, और वो हर विचारधारा के साथ संकट है। आप कल्पना कीजिए, पूरा का पूरा सोशलिस्ट ब्लॉक कोलैप्स कर गया। कारण क्या है? वो जो आप जिस पीड़ा से गुजर रहे हैं, उस पीड़ा से बहुत सारे लोग गुजर रहे हैं, तरह तरह से गुजर रहे हैं। ये पूरी के पूरी ये ऐसा फेज शुरू हुआ है जिसमें कि आइडियाज और आइडिया और आइडियोलॉजी, ये तीनों से ही लोग एकदम दूर चले गए हैं। अब लोगों को आइडियोलॉजिकल बात सुननी अच्छी नहीं लगती। वो गांधी की करिए, चाहे वो आरएसएस की करिए या किसी भी करिए, वो कोई आइडियोलॉजिकल बात सुनना पसंद नहीं करते। वो किसी आइडिया में नहीं जीते। ये गलत फहमी है। डेमोक्रेसी जो हमारे पास थी, जो फलती फूलती दिखाई दे रही थी, वो इसलिए थी कि हमने डेमोक्रेसी में इन्वेस्ट किया था, हमने सैक्रिफाइस की थी। आपकी एफडी खत्म हो चुकी है, नई एफडी आपने तैयार नहीं की, तो डेमोक्रेसी चलेगी कैसे? लोकतंत्र निवेश पर आधारित है, और अब कॉर्पोरेट हाउसेस निवेश कर रहे हैं, तो लोकतंत्र की नीतियां, शासक वर्ग की नीतियां अब उन कॉर्पोरेट हाउसेस के लिए तैयार की जा रही हैं। मेरी याद में नहीं है कि पिछले 75 साल में कोई ऐसा आंदोलन हुआ हो डेमोक्रेसी के नाम पर जिसमें 100 लोगों ने जान दे दी हो। हाँ, सिर्फ इधर के वर्षों में किसान आंदोलन के दौरान यह हुआ कि 750 लोग मर गए। लोकतंत्र बिना कुर्बानी के अपने पैर पर खड़ा नहीं हो सकता, जिसे हम लोग कहते हैं संप्रभुता। दूसरी चीज जो गांधी ने दी, जो कि मुझे अच्छी लगती है, जो कि क्राइसिस में है, वो यह है कि हमारी संप्रभुता संकट में है। वो राष्ट्र की भी प्रभुसत्ता संकट में है, और ये जो व्यक्ति है इसकी भी प्रभुसत्ता संकट में है। हम संप्रभुता के बारे में, डेमोक्रेसी में संप्रभुता सबसे मूल्यवान चीज है, और स्वतंत्रता जितनी मूल्यवान है उतनी ही मूल्यवान संप्रभुता भी है। लेकिन हम तो उसमें जाना ही नहीं चाहते, हम डिबेट का हिस्सा ही नहीं है हमारे। गांधी की खूबी यह थी जो अनुपलब्ध यथार्थ था उसको उन्होंने उपलब्ध कराया। मैं गांधी को पाना चाहता हूं ना, सिर्फ एक लाइन, अनुपलब्ध यथार्थ को उपलब्ध करने की कोशिश करो, रास्ता खुलता दिखाई देगा। हम चाहते हैं कि हम बंद गली में रहें, बंद मकान में रहें, किसी भी किस्म की चीज का खोज न करें और कोई हमें खोज के बता दे। और ट्रेजेडी यह है, तू भी गांधीवादी, मैं भी गांधीवादी, सब अपने हाथ से अपनी पीठ ठोक रहे हैं। नहीं नहीं, मैं बहुत साफ और दो टूक ढंग से कहना चाहता हूं कि पीठ ठोकने का नाम गांधी नहीं है। हम कन्विंस है कि ये भी गांधीवादी हैं और ये भी गांधी, फिर संकट कहां है? संकट है अनुपलब्ध यथार्थ को पाने में। दूसरी चीज जो कि मैं एक बहुत ही जो कि तेजी से घट रही है, पता नहीं आप लोग मेरा जो अब तक का जो पठन पाठन है मीडिया का, साइबर मीडिया का, जिस दिन से ये आया मैं लिख रहा हूँ, मैं बहुत एक्टिवली लिखता हूँ, मतलब कोई प्रोफेसर नहीं लिखता, मतलब मेरी तरह कोई बेवकूफ़ नहीं है। आप जितना साइबर में जाएंगे गांधी उतना ही दुर्लभ होगा। आपको लगता है कि डिजिटल होने से ज़्यादा पठनीय होगा, वो ज़्यादा लोगों को पहुंच सकता है जल्दी, ये संभव है। साइबर कल्चर की, साइबर पैराडाइम में दाखिल होने की, कंप्यूटर में के पैराडाइम में दाखिल होने की सबसे बड़ी दुर्घटना यह है कि वहाँ विचार की और व्यक्ति की और संप्रभुता की, इन तीनों की एकदम डेथ हो जाती है। आप कहीं भी रहिए, आप चीन में रहिए, आप रूस में रहिए, कहीं भी रहिए, कैसा भी संविधान बना लीजिए और कैसा भी नेता बिठा दीजिए, ये जो शिफ्ट है, गांधी कब पैदा हुए थे? प्रिंट रिवॉल्यूशन के दौर में, और हम बैठे हुए हैं इस कंप्यूटर रिवॉल्यूशन के दौर में, और ये बहुत बड़ा पैराडाइम शिफ्ट है। इसे हमारे अधिकतर लोग कंसीडर नहीं करते, सोचते नहीं है। कंप्यूटर पैराडाइम में जो चीज आई है वो चीज वह है जो कि अदृश्य है। कितना सुंदर लग रहा है गांधी देखने में, कितने सुंदर लग रहे हैं ये। गांधी इतने सुंदर नहीं थे। गांधी घबरा जाएंगे देख के कि मैं इतना सुंदर। मैं जो चीज आपसे शेयर करना चाहता हूं वो ये कि एक इल्यूजन, एक विभ्रम हमारे इर्द गिर्द खड़ा हुआ है, और इस विभ्रम को तोड़ने के लिए रियल होना बेहद जरूरी है। हम रियल तो होना ही नहीं चाहते। आखिरी चीज ये कह के मैं बात खत्म करूंगा। गांधी क्यों दुर्लभ हुए? मैं जो तुषार जी ने कहा था मैं उसकी एक तरफ संकेत कर रहा हूं खाली बस। गांधी ने मनुष्य की अस्मिता को बहुत मूल्यवान माना। वो दलित, स्त्री, ये तमाम किस्म के जो आइडेंटिटी पॉलिटिक्स के जो इश्यूज जो इमर्ज किए 60s के बाद स्पेशली, और वो बढ़ते ही रहे। मैं बहुत साफ कहना चाहता हूं, अस्मिता की राजनीति, आइडेंटिटी पॉलिटिक्स जितनी ज्यादा सघन रूप से बढ़ेगी, गांधी हमारे हाथ से, या वह पॉलिटिक्स जो मनुष्य को केंद्र में रख के, वह साहित्य जो मनुष्य को केंद्र में रख के लिखा जाता है, वो आपके हाथ से छूट जाएगा। आइडेंटिटी की पॉलिटिक्स जिस जगह गई है, जहां खड़ी हुई है, वहां उसने मनुष्य की राजनीति को नुकसान किया है और मनुष्य से जुड़े हुए प्रधान विचारों को नष्ट किया है। गांधी का और समाज का जो अलगाव पैदा हुआ उसका एक बड़ा कारण है ये। दिक्कत यह है कि हम आइडेंटिटी पॉलिटिक्स भी करना चाहते हैं, डेमोक्रेसी भी चाहते हैं और गांधी भी चाहते हैं। ये तीनों चीजें एक साथ नहीं रह सकती। गांधी की खूबी थी मनुष्य केंद्र में था। शूद्र, दलित, मुसलमान, अल्पसंख्यक, ये कह के बात नहीं थी गांधी की, कहीं भी नहीं है। और अंत में गांधी धर्म की बड़ी कठोर आलोचना है उनकी तमाम उनके प्रवचन में, उनकी राइटिंग में, उनके पत्रों में। गांधी ने जो आधुनिक भारत का सपना विकसित किया वो धर्म की आलोचना करते हुए विकसित किया, अधार्मिक होकर नहीं, धार्मिक साक्षरता के आधार पर विकसित किया। हम धर्म का तो विकास कर रहे हैं, मंदिर बना रहे हैं, मस्जिद बना रहे हैं, चर्च बना रहे हैं, दुनिया भर की चीजें बना रहे हैं। धर्म की शिक्षा, साक्षरता जिसे हम लोग कहते हैं, और धर्म का क्रिटिक, ये अगर आपके पास नहीं होगा तो आप गांधी को समझ ही नहीं सकते। गांधी प्रार्थना भी कर रहे हैं लेकिन आलोचना भी कर रहे हैं। आप किसी से मंदिर जाने वाले, मेरे पास 2 मंदिर, मैं मंदिर की वजह से ही नहीं जा रहा हूं, अभी जल्दी जा रहा हूं भाग के, मैं आपको बता रहा हूं। जन्माष्टमी है परसों, मुझे मालूम नहीं थी, मैं टिकट कटवा चुका था और ये था कि मैं मथुरा में गालियां खाऊंगा मैं घर जाके अगर मैं यहां रह गया तो। गांधी की जो सबसे सुंदर बात मुझे लगी भारत के संदर्भ, क्योंकि भारत में कोई भी डायलॉग धर्म के बिना संभव नहीं है। मैं धर्म नहीं मानता लेकिन मेरे यहां तो मंदिर है, मेरे वो क्या है, मेरी सभ्यता का हिस्सा है। लोग भगवान को मानते हैं, वो यहां की सभ्यता का हिस्सा है, मैं उसको छोड़ नहीं सकता। मैं मानता नहीं हूं लेकिन मैं उसे छोड़ नहीं सकता। क्यों? अगर जिस दिन मैंने छोड़ दिया, ये फासिस्ट लोग मंदिर पर भी कब्जा करेंगे और धर्म पर भी कब्जा करेंगे। हमने तो यही किया, हमने मंदिरों के लिए खुला छोड़ दिया इन नालायकों के लिए, धर्म को खुला छोड़ दिया इन नालायकों के लिए, और ये जाएं और उसको रौंदें। मानव सभ्यता के विकास में जो कुछ भी मूल्यवान पैदा हुआ है वह मेरी धरोहर है और मैं रक्षा करूंगा उसकी। इसलिए गांधी का किसी भी धर्म से बैर नहीं था, वो हमारे संरक्षण का हिस्सा थी। हम रहेंगे। हमने क्या किया कि हम पहले, ये जरा साइंटिफिक होते हैं तो हम पहला काम करते हैं, हम धर्म को नहीं मानते। अरे आपके न मानने से क्या होता है? क्यों कह रहे हैं आप ये? इसका परिणाम जानते हैं हम लोग? नहीं जानते। अंत में मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि अगर हमें डेमोक्रेसी को अर्जित करना है तो डेमोक्रेसी को नए सिरे से परिभाषित करना होगा। गांधी को परिभाषित करने की जरूरत, परिभाषित है। गांधी समझ में क्यों नहीं आ रहा, व्यवहार में क्यों नहीं आ रहा? गांधी का समाज से अलगाव क्यों पैदा हुआ है? इसलिए क्योंकि हमने लोकतंत्र को और आज के समाज को जो पिछले 75 साल में विकसित हुआ है, इस समाज को हमने परिभाषित नहीं किया है। हम किताबों से परिभाषित करते हैं। इसलिए मेरा ये अनुरोध है कि गांधी मुझे कहाँ मिलेंगे? अनुपलब्ध यथार्थ को जब हम अर्जित करेंगे वहाँ मिलेंगे। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir, for that very thought-provoking talk. Professor Chaturvedi has a flight, so he will be leaving now. So I request Shri Nandara, Secretary, Gandhi Museum, Madurai, to please present a memento to Professor Chaturvedi. Our next speaker is Justice H.N. Nagmohan Das, who probably most of you know here. He's a distinguished jurist who has made notable contributions to the Indian legal system. As a judge at the High Court of Karnataka, he earned a reputation for his judicial acumen and dedication to justice. Beyond the bench, Justice Das has actively engaged in various social and legal reforms, a strong advocate for human rights. He has championed the cause of the underprivileged and marginalized. Notably, he initiated the Samvidhana Odu campaign aimed at educating about the Constitution, which has reached lakhs of students and general public across the state. ಈಗ ಜಸ್ಟಿಸ್ ಎಚ್ ಎನ್ ನಾಗಮೋಹನ್ ದಾಸ್ ಅವರು ಮಾತನಾಡುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಭಾರತೀಯ ಕಾನೂನು ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಉಚ್ಚ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಲಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನ್ಯಾಯಮೂರ್ತಿಯರಾಗಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠ ಸೇವೆಯನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸಮಾಜ ಮತ್ತು ಕಾನೂನು ಸುಧಾರಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಕ್ರಿಯವಾಗಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸುತ್ತಿರುವ ಇವರು ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಓದು ಅಭಿಯಾನವನ್ನು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಬಟ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್. Though I love to speak in my mother tongue, I know many of you have come from different parts of the country. Therefore, I switch over to father tongue. My learned panelists, Dr. Sebi Joseph, Professor Chaturvedi, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I am privileged to stand before you on an occasion like this. To begin with, within 2 minutes, I will try to share one important thing because Tushar Gandhi is here. He is the great grandson of Gandhi, therefore he is Tushar Gandhi. But to me, there is another tag, Mohandas. It is also related to Gandhi. The question is how it came to him. He is a great grandson, therefore it came to him. In 1947, we got independence. On 30th of January 1948, Gandhi was assassinated. The Congress party then resolved to carry the ashes of Gandhi to every district in the country and to conduct a program on that district and disperse those ashes in a important water. I may be a river, ocean, or a lake, or a well. The urn containing the ashes of Gandhi came to Kolar district in Karnataka way back in the year 1952 February. The local Congress leadership entrusted the task of organizing the program near KGF. Perhaps most of you have heard Kolar Goldfields. There is a village called Beth Mangal. There was a big tank. Even now that tank is there. It was resolved to organize the program there and to immerse the ashes. This was entrusted to one freedom fighter by name Nagappa. He went there, campaigned for 5 days, organized the program. On 12th February 1952, the program was going on. From the village of Nagappa, a bus conductor and driver came to the venue of the function and informed him that there is a message to him. The message from his village is that Nagappa got a son on that day. The leaders in the function suggested to name Gandhi. Nagappa said, no, we can't do like that because Nagappa's family tradition says the first son name shall commence with Na. Then a compromise was arrived at. Let your name, family name be there and Gandhi name be there. Naga is family name, Mohandas is Gandhi's name, Nagmohandas is before you. See, this is the impact of Gandhi in 1952. That impact is there today. And it will be there tomorrow and for the generation to come. Gandhi is not great-grandfather to Tushar, to the millions and millions of people in this country and the world. That is the point I make. Friends, a topic is given to us in this session to deal with. Time is very short. There is no time for me to narrate the things. Therefore, I will adopt a telegraphic language. There will be no narration, only bullet points will be there. Friends, when we turn over the pages of history, we will come across 5 important stages of human evolution. Primitive communism, primitive commune system. The second one was the slave system. The third one was feudal system. The fourth one was democratic system. The fifth one was the socialistic system. Today, 90% of the countries in the world are governed by the democratic system, including India. We got independence in 1947 by accepting the world's biggest written constitution. We became republic in 1950. In our constitution, we have abolished feudalism. And we resolved to establish a parliamentary democracy in India. In these 75 years, we have built democratic institutions. We brought democratic reforms. And we gave to our people democratic rights. Parliament and Vidhan Sabha are the legislative democratic institutions. Central government, state government, district administration, taluka administration and Gram Panchayat are the executive institutions. The Supreme Court, High Court, District Court and Taluka Court are the judicial institutions. These are the democratic institutions that we have built after India became republic, and we are all participating. 142 crore population of this country, either directly or indirectly, are participating on day-to-day basis in these institutions. We brought agricultural reforms, educational reforms, industrial reforms, administrative reforms, health reforms, cultural reforms, land reforms. In this way, we brought several reforms to improve the living conditions of people of this country. We gave democratic rights to the people. Freedom of speech and expression, freedom to travel, freedom of residence, freedom of profession, freedom of occupation, freedom of religion, freedom of culture, and we are enjoying these fundamental rights for the several years. But today, the democracy in India is facing both problems and challenges. I don't want to go into the details. It is not just in India. You take wherever in the world, democratic political systems have developed cracks. Be it America, England, Germany, France, Australia, India, name any country. Everywhere there is a crack. In India, the present democratic political system is facing several challenges. Terrorism is one challenge. Communalism is another challenge. Corruption, criminalization, cultural degeneration. If you permit me, I can speak at least half an hour on each topic. But these are the challenges that the country's political system is facing. In addition to that, we see that various other problems democratic institutions are being weakened day by day. Be it parliament, be it Vidhan Sabha, you take any democratic institution, whether independent bodies like Election Commission, Reserve Bank, CBI, Enforcement Directorate, you name anything. Their sovereignty is affected, they are weakened. It is not just democratic institutions. Rampant violation of human rights. Not by a private people, but by state itself. Misinterpreting the basic features of the constitution like secularism, social justice, welfare state, pluralism, federalism. It is not just misinterpretation of the constitution. They are making some of the basic features of the constitution as irrelevant. We resolved when we adopted our constitution, stating that we have put an end to rule of king, but we accepted rule of law. But rule of law is being eroded day by day in every field. This is the type of challenges that the Indian democracy is facing today. I need not tell much about the elections. There can be no democracy without elections. But elections are under the influence of money power, muscle power, caste power, and religion power. As I told you, this is the situation not only in India, but every democratic governance in the world. But one thing we have to note, that no one is speaking what is alternative to democracy. I have not heard. There are big political astrologers in America, France, England, and many other countries, including India. But nobody is speaking what is alternative to democracy. Nobody is speaking about alternative to democracy, and democracy is facing these problems and challenges. What is the way out? In my considered and humble opinion, Gandhi becomes very relevant here. I am not for a moment advocating that readily we have to accept whatever Gandhi has said. But a time has come where we have to debate, deliberate how far we can imbibe the Gandhian values to strengthen the present democratic system and overcome the ills, overcome the disadvantages of the democratic system. Way back in 1930s, Gandhi warned not only India but the entire world. Greater the institution, greater the abuse. Democracy is one of the biggest institutions today. But this is being greatly abused today. In a situation like this, is it not necessary that we have to debate on the Gandhian values and make use of those values in our democratic polity to strengthen it and to overcome the weaknesses? To mention few, say for example, non-violence. Non-violence, I can speak half an hour to you, but only one sentence I say. Violence-free society is not just non-violence. In the Gandhian conception of non-violence is justice for all, rights for all, equality for all. This is the thing that we have to debate, how we have to imbibe it. Similarly, Gandhian thought of Sarvodaya, the emancipation of all, the liberation of all, All of you have heard in the morning that Chief Minister saying that 80%, 85% of the wealth of the country is in the hands of 1% of the people of this country. This gap between rich and poor resulted in hungry, poverty, begging, unemployment, illiteracy, lack of health facility, shelter facility, and so many other things. Gandhi advocated trusteeship. We have to work and live is the basic principles of trusteeship. We have to work and earn, and we have to use what is minimum required for our living. What do you do with the rest of your earning? Give to those who do not have anything, those who are unable to make a living for a day. This is trusteeship. We have forgotten this. Gandhi advocated Swaraj. Swaraj is not concentration of power in few hands. In one of my judgments, I have said, by quoting Gandhi, that it is the decentralization. A rule from Delhi is not the prerequisite of a democracy. Rule from every halli, every village is the prerequisite of a democracy. See, these are some of the things. We only debated, we only argued, we only fought for our rights. But you have ever thought of discharging our duties? That is the Gandhian way of living. Gandhian way of living means not just claiming rights. In addition to your rights, you owe a duty to discharge your duties. Rights and duties are inseparable according to the Gandhi. But for the last 75 years, we've only debated about our rights and not about our duties. Most important thing that we have forgotten and we have ignored, both in our educational system and in our social system and in our family system. That is building a value-based society. If you ask me a question, what is value? Or what is morality? It is difficult to define. But it is easy to explain. I give one small example. Way back in 1942, when Indo-Pak war was going on, the Pakistan army captured the Indian Air Marshal K.C. Cariappa and his associates. Then Ayub Khan was the president of Pakistan. At one point of time, Ayub Khan served under the senior Cariappa, K.M. Cariappa, the army general. He wrote a letter to senior Cariappa. Your son is in our custody. We are looking after him better than any other person who is in our custody. If you desire, we will release your son and send back to India. Senior Cariappa wrote a reply. Thank you for your gesture. Please treat my son in par with all other soldiers who have captured you. Please release my son when you release all other Indian soldiers. Because all soldiers of India who are in our custody are my children. I will give another small example. Way back in 1975, emergency was imposed in India. Leading opposition party leaders were all arrested. Press censorship was imposed. Fundamental rights were suspended. Throughout the country, several writ petitions were filed before the high courts, mostly habeas corpus writ petitions. Different high courts gave different judgments. Finally, all the judgments landed before the Supreme Court of India. A 5 judges bench of Supreme Court of India heard the arguments and wrote a judgment. 4 judgment wrote one judgment. 4 judges wrote one judgment, and only one judge wrote a dissenting judgment. The 4 judges who constituted majority, they wrote a judgment saying, during emergency, fundamental rights are suspended, therefore no writ petition is maintainable, all the writ petitions are dismissed. One judge make a dissenting judgment. He said, fundamental rights are fundamental to the Constitution. They are unsuspendable, untouchable for any time and everything. That judge is Justice H.R. Khanna, the dissenting judge. By watching all these proceedings, immediately after that judgment, 1 month after, the question of appointing Chief Justice of India came into the picture. Though Justice Khanna was qualified, senior most, and he had the very eligibility to be appointed Chief Justice of India, government bypassed him, a junior was appointed. Aggrieved by this, Justice Khanna tendered his resignation for the judge post. By observing all these developments in India, an American judge by name Justice Jackson, he wrote an article in New York Times. I don't narrate every word of that article, but last one sentence. That last one sentence leaves. Judges are more often bribed, not by money, but by their vested interest and loyalty to the others. Justice Khanna, if he had the aspiration and vested interest to become the Chief Justice of India, he should have simply wrote one word, I respectfully agree with my learned brother judges. But he didn't do that. He surrendered, not for his vested interest, but for the rights of people of India. That is morality. That is what Gandhi taught throughout. Not only throughout, in every walk of life, he prescribed a value-based. That is what he prescribed even to the democracy. Therefore, my friends, even today's problems and challenges that democracy is facing, the major reason are these things. Non-violence, trusteeship, our duties, values, Swaraj, Gramraj. These are the things which we are required to debate and how far it is possible to adopt in our political system and to strengthen the Indian democracy. In doing so, the question arises, what is dissent? There can be no democracy without dissent, my friends. I had the occasion to write a judgment way back in 2010. There I wrote, our democratic system, as I told you, not only built the democratic institutions, but not only brought the democratic reforms, but also we gave democratic rights. One of the democratic rights is freedom of speech and expression. What is meant by freedom of speech and expression? Freedom to express my view. Freedom to express a dissenting view. Freedom to question you. Freedom to criticize you. Freedom to analyze you. I also said freedom to keep silent. This questioning and this criticizing is not new to the human civilization. From the days of Charvaka, Buddha, Basava, they all questioned. And that is more important in a democracy. But unfortunately, today, when you speak, you will be branded as Pakistani. You will be branded as anti-national. You will be branded as an urban exilite. You will be branded as anti-patriot, anti-Hindu. This is what is going on. Unless we open our mouth, raise our voice, democracy cannot be strengthened. This cannot be done by XYZ. The entire nation has to do it. There I say Gandhi becomes more relevant. Please remember, Gandhi went more than 299 days to the jail. Why? He went to the jail because he disobeyed and he criticized. He asked the people not to obey the command of English rule. Because of that sacrifice, India got independence. Can we not go one day for jail to save democracy? You don't go to jail according to your vision. Go for the jail or face any punishment by constructively criticizing the government, state, the law, the injustice, the falsehood, the mispropaganda, anti-constitutional acts. It in this form of our expression, we have to save democracy. There we are required to follow Gandhi. There Gandhi becomes relevant not only to the Indian democracy but also the world democracies in the entire globe today. With these words, for providing me this opportunity, I thank the organizers, particularly Vishkumar, who telephoned and invited me 2-3 times by fixing my date. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that very inspiring talk by giving real-life examples of what it means to live the values that are important for the democracy. Before we move on to the final speaker, I just want to make a quick announcement that following this session, there will be a cultural program followed by dinner. So please, you're all requested to stay back. So we are now at the final end of the session. Our last speaker for the day is Dr. C.B. Joseph, who's the Director of Library and Research Center for Gandhian Studies, Sevagram Ashram, Pratishthan. He was Dean of Studies and Research at the Institute of Gandhian Studies, a scholar deeply committed to Gandhian philosophy. His research focuses on non-violence, social justice, and sustainable development. He has authored numerous publications that explore the relevance of Gandhian principles in contemporary times, particularly in addressing global challenges such as poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation. ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸಿ ಬಿ ಜೋಸೆಫ್ ರವರು ಮಾತನಾಡುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಇವರು ಸೇವಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಆಶ್ರಮ ಪ್ರತಿಷ್ಠಾನದ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನಗಳ ಗ್ರಂಥಾಲಯ ಮತ್ತು ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರದ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಗಾಂಧಿ ತತ್ವಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ತಜ್ಞರಾಗಿರುವ ಇವರು ಅಹಿಂಸೆ, ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ನ್ಯಾಯ ಮತ್ತು ಸುಸ್ಥಿರಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ವಿಷಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Friends, I consider it as a privilege and honor to address this august audience. While addressing this audience, I have certain dilemmas in my mind. One, the question which is coming into my mind is whether I am qualified to speak on this subject, other than the level of Sevagram Ashram Pratishthan. It is true that I worked on a book on deliberative democracy and it was published internationally. And also, I have some experience at the grassroots level in Kerala, especially participatory democracy and people planning experience. Other than that, I am not qualified to speak on this subject. The second dilemma which is coming, it is a very broad area. I requested the organizers what area they said it is Gandhi, democracy and dissent. Okay, I thought I will stick to the whatever the instructions given by the organizers. I am also very happy that the other speakers, one thing I like very much, when Professor Jagadish Chaturvedi said, no, no quoting. That also make my task easy, because I can say that no, it is already given as a verdict. Then the discussions given by Justice Nag Mohan Das, combining Nag and Gandhi. See, I was carefully listening to both the speakers. Two things which came into my mind, even though I have a speech, I am not going to look into it, it's many pages. One is the point emphasized by Professor Chaturvedi was the drastic change which happened in the systems of governance over these years. And he emphasized what are the real aspirations of democracy and how the corporates have taken democracy into their hands. And also, Justice Saab has clearly explained what are the challenges we are facing today. The challenges which we are facing today are not limited to India. It is a global challenge. I agree that there is an evolution. I see both positive and negative evolutions. See, if you are looking at the democratic polity, it started with the limited franchise. Who was qualified to vote? But it ultimately resulted in the universal adult franchise. That is the positive dimension. The same thing, see, the idea of a minimal state to a welfare state in which the government plays a more proactive role in promoting social welfare. And these transitions radically change the entire character of democratic governance. At the same time, as we have today, among the existing patterns of democracy, the liberal democracy with the representative government became the dominant form. And that, what is the basis of that? See, it is based on the principle of representation. Citizens select their representative thinking that they will, through their work, present the aspirations of the people. And decision making as per the wishes of the people. And it would ensure accountability and transparency through independent judiciary, ensuring the rule of law of citizens. But the justice who was speaking, see, if you speak the truth, what would be the result? Then who is going to dissent? See, the existing pattern of democracy suffer from certain corrosive structures and forces that hamper the flourishing of democracy in the desired direction. See, who is best affected in the democratic process is the poor and marginalized people. Their voice is never heard in the whole democratic discourse. That was already pointed out by the speakers and the dissent which is happening in this country. The citizens were highly alienated and disconnected from the whole political process and stating that, no, we don't want to keep away from the whole political. That is one of the reasons for the low voter voting, and it has become a game of the rich, the powerful, the corporates, and their political interest. Through their mechanisms, like in political science we say cronyism, to maintain power and engage in corrupt and ethical practices. I need not have to elaborate either in the Indian scenario or in the global scenario. Here comes Gandhi. See, before coming to it, I had an interesting discussion with one of my friends. He said Gandhi's concept of democracy is so confusing. I said, what? He said, Gandhi on the one side talks about what we call the inner Swaraj, an ideal form. And on the other side, what the work he was doing was the parliamentary democracy, that Gandhi himself admitted that fact. The reason is that he realized that Indian people are not equipped for it, and given the situation, he has not given up his personal convictions. But in the 1921 preface to the Hind Swaraj, the inner Swaraj, when Gandhi was talking about the inner Swaraj, the rule of the self, and the last session also his concept of Swaraj was deliberated, he was not rejecting the outer Swaraj. He was not rejecting the outer Swaraj. See, he wanted the outer Swaraj to be the bare minimum. For that, he talked about a participatory, village-oriented form of governance. And in his ideal scheme of things, there was no place for state or political power. And he made it very clear that the political power is not an end. One of the means of enabling people to better their conditions in every department of life. On the one side, he talked about enlightened anarchy, and in which everyone is on his own ruler. But he was a pragmatist. He believed that ideal cannot be realized in the life. Therefore, he agreed with Thoreau that government is the best, which governs the least. Thus, he postulated the idea of a minimal state in which the fruits of democracy can be attained by the poor and marginalized sections of the society. And one of the points which Gandhi emphasized was that the violence and democracy cannot go together. Whether in the Indian scenario or in the global scenario, we are seeing the Ukraine situation. We are seeing, yes, the violence has become the order of the day. When violence becomes the order of the day, there cannot be any democracy. And Gandhi, I would like to call him as a master dissenter. Because even in Gandhi's lifetime, persons like Alexander Solzhenitsyn from Russia, there is no need for who is he. From Nazi Germany, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, they came and spent to understand Gandhi's perspective of dissent. All his struggles, both in South Africa and India, were forms of dissent. Dissent against the unjust laws. In the Indian scene, whether it is the non-cooperation movement, it was a movement of dissent against the British rule, encouraging the boycott of all institutions, whether it is the case of salt satyagraha, to protest against the oppressive law, the individual satyagraha. And he is inviting the people of moral character to dissent against the British. Gandhi successfully used dissent as a means to achieve a more just and equitable, peaceful society, both in South Africa and the Indian scene, demonstrating the power of dissent in achieving the socio-economic and political change. See, Romila Thapar, in her book, The Voices of Dissent, an essay wrote that Gandhi created a variant form of dissent. What was that form of dissent which was entirely different from it? Is a special and a unique character. There is a philosophy of dissent itself. I will not go into it. I know the time is getting over, 2 minutes left for me. See, it is the most creative and constructive and positive dissent. In this dissent process, both combat and construction go hand in hand. That is the beauty of Gandhi's concept of dissent, and that makes the democracy vibrant. We are questioning the political leaders. We are not going to create alternative structures, alternative institutions, grassroots level work, even at your own area. That makes the whole different. See, then another thing is that the respectful dissent. See, respecting the other party, whether it is the British, whether it is whoever it may be. See, Gandhi is writing to the fascist leaders, addressing him as friend. In a dignified way, expressing strongly his dissent, and dissent as even Gandhi's speeches in the trial court after the non-cooperation movement. I'll say that is the best expression of dissent, explaining how Gandhi changed as a person who was cooperating with the British Raj, as a person who was a non-cooperator, a rebel, a dissent. That is why Ramin titled his book as The Disobedient Indian Towards a Gandhian Philosophy of Dissent. See, that dissent gives us the hope that needs courage and conviction, and that needs education of the masses. And this point was emphasized by the speakers this morning, talking about the people's power. Also, Kumar Prashantji talking about changing the crowd to the citizen, performing the duty. If you are not performing your duty, you do not have any right to dissent. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks once again.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. That was a very inspiring talk. We now conclude today's sessions. As I mentioned earlier, there will be a cultural program now.